Hello and welcome to TradeFlow Television,
bringing you valuable analysis and actionable intelligence
through the global commodity markets.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. China's efforts to keep people from traveling for Chinese New Year because of several clusters of COVID-19 infections are forcing analysts to revise first-quarter fuel demand estimates, but are not expected to derail its post-pandemic recovery. China's Ministry of Transport has said passenger trips during the 40-day spring travel season could be down by 40% from the pre-pandemic levels of 2019. That has led analysts to cut forecasts for first-quarter oil demand by as much as 400,000 barrels per day, BPD, on the assumption this means less gasoline and jet fuel will be consumed. China's first-quarter oil consumption is still expected to be up 2 million to 3 million barrels of oil per day over the same quarter last year, said analysts with Energy Aspects, IHS Markit and Wood Mackenzie.
Travel restrictions, supply chain disruptions and risk aversion since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic have slammed the brakes on mining exploration in Africa, jeopardizing the minerals supply pipeline. Inward investment will be a key focus at the annual Investing in African Mining Indaba virtual conference to be held on Tuesday and Wednesday, with companies looking to capitalize on higher metals prices and the transition to green energy. Without exploration, the continent's rich mineral resources are at risk of being unutilized as older mines become unviable.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
The Environmental Bureau in China's Shandong province, the top oil refining hub in the country, has advised petrochemical and chemical plants in the region to avoid overhauls between April and October in an effort to tackle ground ozone pollution. The move follows Beijing's campaign to reduce emissions of volatile organic compounds (VOX), a major cause of ground ozone pollution during the summer season in China that comes primarily from industrial plants, especially those in the petrochemical sector. China's Environment Ministry had previously advised industrial plants around the country to shun maintenance during the July to September period.
Oil prices rose more than 2% on Tuesday, reaching their highest in 12 months after major producers showed they were reining in output roughly in line with their commitments. The US and global benchmarks rallied as optimism about more US economic stimulus added to market bullishness from supply cuts. Brent crude was up $1.22, or 2.2%, at $57.57 a barrel by 12:03 Eastern Standard Time for its third straight day of gains, touching $58.05, the highest level since January last year. The rally began as OPEC production increases were less than expected.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Hedge funds have raised their bets against Canadian silver mining stocks, January short-selling data from a market regulator showed, while the miners' shares in silver itself rose sharply due to buying by retail investors. A social media-driven buying spree lifted silver to an 8-year high on Monday, spurred by posts on the same Reddit message board behind last week's frenzied buying of GameStop Corp GME, N and other shares. But the rally later cooled on doubts about the ability of retail traders to move prices in a bigger, more liquid commodities market.
A retail investment frenzy in silver over the past couple of days driven by social media has left dealers in some regions scrambling for bars and coins to meet demand. Silver prices fell on Tuesday as a buying spree by smaller investors seen mainly in silver mining shares and exchange-traded funds fizzled out following a margin hike on futures contracts by the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. The buying, inspired by a recent rush by retail investors into heavily shorted stocks like U.S. video game retailer GameStop, took prices to a near 8-year peak. Retail investors cannot directly access the wholesale silver market, so instead they have bought into bars and coins. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. India has imposed an additional tax on crude palm oil imports as the world's biggest importer of vegetable oils tries to build domestic agriculture infrastructure by taxing imports, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said on Monday. India cut the basic import tax on crude palm oil to 15% from 27.5%, but imposed a 17.5% cess, a separate tax, on the imports, Sitharaman said in her federal budget speech. The cess would provide resources for an immediate need to improve agricultural infrastructure, Sitharaman said.
That is all for today's news on the commodity market. Stay tuned to TradeFlow TV as we continue to provide you with more updates. You can also follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow TV1, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop.